Would you like to double your productivity? I bet you would. So here's what most people do when they're trying to become more productive. They create and manage to-do lists. May I suggest that though that is an important thing to do, the thing that is even more effective is to use your calendar instead of using a to-do list to manage your projects. So let's talk about what I mean here. There's a concept called time blocking, where you basically block out time on your calendar to complete certain tasks. So my guess is if we were to take your to-do list, there have been certain projects that have been on your to-do list for days, weeks, months, and in some cases, years. And here's what happens. It keeps showing up on your to-do list, and it's there, and it never gets done. And then eventually it drops off the to-do list, and then we decide we need to do it again, so we put it back on the to-do list, but it's a hard thing, and so we never actually get around to doing the to-do list, and consequently it never gets done, whatever. So how about if instead of putting something on your to-do list that then has to compete with all your other priorities, instead you say, okay, I'm going to spend an hour, block it out on my calendar to do that task tomorrow. And then go to your calendar and say between 10 and 11 tomorrow, I am going to do this project. And then have the self-discipline to actually work on that project during that time. Now, my suspicion is that the major projects that have been on your to-do list for days, weeks, months, years, probably can't be completed in an hour. So what you do is you break it down into simple. You break it down into, here's this project that can be accomplished in 60 minutes. And so as you put it on your calendar, you put two things on it. You put the meeting name, which is this project that you're working on, and then you put the goal. And the goal is, here's what I'm going to do during this hour, and that I actually believe that I can accomplish during that hour. And then once that hour happens, you actually do it. The key is to make sure that that goal is something that actually can be done in just an hour. So if you say, I'm going to write 3 chapters of my book in that hour, it's not going to happen. I can virtually guarantee that you're not going to finish 3 chapters of your book in that hour. But if you put down outline chapter 3 during that hour, and so the best way to do this is to not just block one time, but to block multiple hours across multiple days, each one with a specific goal, broken down to simple, so that you then can actually accomplish that across a period of time. What this does is it removes the tyranny of priority and of mood from your to-do list process. Right now, much of what you do is governed by, I don't feel like it, or I do feel like it, and oh, here's this other thing that's higher priority. By sitting down and putting it on the calendar and then having the self-discipline to actually do that thing during that hour that you have on the calendar, you all of a sudden become significantly more productive. Now, I want to go back all the way to the very beginning where I talked about how to double your productivity. Why does this double your productivity? Studies have shown that the average person who does brain work as opposed to physical building things, doing things on an assembly line, actually only has somewhere between 60 and 120 minutes of productivity during a given day. Of actually high performing productivity. So by putting an hour onto your calendar, what ends up happening is you end up carving out time that you normally would have spent on a Zoom meeting or taking a nap or going out and wasting time because you didn't want to do this thing that needs to be done. And all of a sudden what you end up doing is you add another 60 minutes to your productivity during the day. That's how you double your productivity. If you put in 90 minutes of productivity in a day and you double the 90 minutes you normally would have, all of a sudden you've got 3 hours of real high productivity during that day instead of the typical hour and a half that most people have. This is what happens when you block time. So, would you be willing to, within the next week, spend at least 3 hours to try this, to experiment, to see if you can make it actually work for you, to get your own personal commitment and understanding that this does work for you? Would you be willing to do 3 hours of block time? I'm not asking you to go off and suddenly start exercising or suddenly start reading or something. All I'm asking you to do is to take a project that you know you should be working on right now and break it into simple, get 3 separate things you can do in 1 hour and put it on the calendar, 3 hours within the next week. Would you be willing to do that? Let me know in the chat. Let me know your experience with this. Let me know what you're actually going to do during those 3 hours in the next week. I look forward to seeing what you're going to say. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff. Like what you just saw and want more? Subscribe now, ring the bell for notifications, and watch these other videos.